Hello, positive, beautiful, and progressive people. This is Kamal Austin, and today we are going to have a very great interview to start off Women's History Month. And I like to showcase Black women doing Women's History Month. And we're going to have on somebody today who's going to help us channel and direct a lot of our young people into a very important topic, which is health. And in many of my videos, I talk about why health is a form of wealth. And today we have Dr. Alexis Donald. I call her Dr. Ad because I feel she's going to add a lot of value
I
to
like
our
that.
lives. I hope she doesn't get mad at me for saying that,
No.
calling her that, but I call her MD Ad. Okay. So,
Love that. I love that.
okay. And um, basically, what we want to do is to try to get promising young people to go into the medical field. And as I explained to people, I'm very indebted to people. I thank God for people in the medical field. I'm a survivor of two forms of cancer over 17 years, going on 18 years. And I've had doctors from different ethnic backgrounds, but I can tell you that the Black doctors and the support staff, we know each other on, personally, as far as by first names. And, if I need an x ray real quick, they get it for me and they go above and beyond. So I'm a person that believes we need more Black doctors and people in the nurses, people in the medical field. And today we're going to talk to someone who can help young people, in your family, maybe your son and daughter, go into the medical field. She's a physician, and I want to welcome to this show Dr. Alexis Donald. How you doing today, Dr. Donald?
Hello, Mr. Austin. Thank you so much for having me today. I am so excited to be here to talk to everyone about the medical field and the author children's book industry as well. I am feeling great today. Today is a great day to start off Women's History Month with such an epic topic. And so I am just ready to talk about all of the good stuff that we're going to talk about today and see how I can be helpful and add some good things to people's lives today that they can incorporate into their lives. And hopefully they can see a difference in their health going forward as well.
All right, fantastic. Well, Dr. Donald, I like to get all in people's business. Just not, when I say business, I'm talking about business, all in your business.
Let's
Okay.
do it.
So let me ask you right away. Can you give me a little bit about your background and growing up, and why you went into the medical field? What inspired you?
hmm Yes. So originally, I was born and raised from Memphis, Tennessee. Graduated high school there.
Right.
Throughout life, I grew up in a single parent home. My mother was a nurse, and I was able to go to the hospital a few times with her in her career, and I was able to see from a nursing standpoint. I was also able to see from the doctor physician standpoint as well. She worked with a lot of them, obviously, in her job career goals.
Hmm.
And I wasn't 100% sold just yet. I wasn't sure because I was like, all I was seeing was sick people. And I was like, this is so sad. I was like, I don't know how you guys do this every day. And so I honestly wasn't sure whether or not I wanted to go into the medical field at all. But it wasn't until I hate to say this, but I love to say this at the same time. What inspired me to really go into the medical field was based off one of my favorite childhood shows that I used to watch as a kid. One of my favorite shows was The Cosby Show. And the main character, Dr. Heathcliff Huxtable, was an OBGYN.
Hmm.
And an OBGYN physician delivers babies. So I had never, ever even thought about it before until I had seen quite a few episodes. And I just thought to myself, I said, he's delivering women's babies. I said, That seems like a very fulfilling role and a fulfilling job. I would love to look more into that. At the time, I didn't even know what that type of position was called. I remember going into Google and I was like, how do you become a I didn't even know how to spell it. I was like, obsta, and Google's always a smart app. Like, do you mean obstetrician gynecologist? I was like, yes, that sounds about right. And so I just looked up everything, all the requirements to become an OBGYN, what the job entailed, things like that. And I remember reading, doing my research on it, and I was like, I'm sold. I said, I
Gotcha.
want to be an OBGYN. And that was when I was in the seventh grade, 12 years old. And I remember telling my mother, I think I want to be an OBGYN. I want to deliver babies, that's for sure. She was like, okay, let's do it. And so I started um, in my summers volunteering at the Women's Hospital in Memphis, to be able to see firsthand, and work with some OBGYNs, getting in some deliveries, seeing C-sections, all while still in middle school.
Wow.
And yeah, that's how like interested and dedicated I was, even from a very, very young age. Like I found something that really, it really helped my heart for some reason. I'm like, I'm really interested in this for some reason. And long story short, I was just an advocate for women's health. I hadn't figured that out just yet, but it sparked that in me. It planted that seed. And so from that moment, I was like, okay, this is what I want to do. And so I was very, very focused throughout high school, was very, 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 very aware of my grades. I was very studious to the point that I became valedictorian on accident because I wasn't trying to become valedictorian. I really was just trying to get straight A so I could get a full ride scholarship to someone's pre med program, and my mother wouldn't have to worry about it. And
Right.
so I became valedictorian anyway. I was like, oh, okay, I wasn't meaning to do that, but I mean, I guess that kind of makes sense with my grades. I'm like, I can believe it. So I was like, okay. And so because of that, I was able to get a lot of scholarships. I became the first student in my high school's history to become a Bill and Melinda Gates Millennium Scholar.
Wow.
And of course, having that, I was given a full ride to any school that I wanted to. And I chose Jackson State University because I knew I wanted to go into HBCU because another one of my favorite shows growing up, A Different World,
Of
planted
course.
that seed in me as well. And I also had a very different experience, I guess a little positive, fun experience growing up in that I got that firsthand HBCU college experience, even as a kid, because my dad just so happened to be the head track and field coach at Jackson State University. So I spent
Mhm.
quite a few childhood summers on the campus. So for a lot of times, like all I knew was Jackson State. And to the point my mom was like, oh, you already know you're going to Jackson State. And I was like, I don't know. I want to, fill out my options, and things like that. And when it came down
Mhm.
to it, I was like, yeah, I'm going to Jackson State. So
Wow.
graduated from Jackson State, loved my time there. They had a joint pre-med program called the BSMD program with Meharry Medical College in Nashville, Tennessee. And that's how I got my foot in the door for med school. So me going to Jackson State, being a part of the pre-medical curriculum there, and being able to participate in those summer programs while a student at Jackson State and spending my summers at Meharry Medical College really helped to get my foot in the door and be accepted into medical school and continue my dream of being an OBGYN. And so that's
Wow.
just a little bit of my history. I know you wanted to get a lot in my business. So hopefully I gave you a lot of information about my background. But if there's anything else, that I didn't say that you have like specific questions about, I'm willing to answer those as well.
Right, right. Okay, great, great. Well, that sort of segues us into an important part of this interview where we want to talk about your book, right? It's
Yes.
one thing to become a professional, and that is a very lofty goal and a great success. And I hope you don't mind me saying, usually I'd say 90% of the time, whenever I learn about a successful person, it makes me wonder about the parents. So, it's sort of when you were talking about your mom being a nurse and everything, that's very interesting. And actually, um, I noticed on a lot of the Black nursing groups, where I have, you know, told them about your book, there was a lot of interest from people in those groups. So it's just very
Nice.
interesting. But let me run right into what I mean. You went from being a professional doctor into becoming an entrepreneur, and lots of times those two things are not encouraged. You know, they try to. You know, I don't know too many doctors who are very entrepreneurial, but you're entrepreneurial, and you became an author too. You
Hmm.
talked about you got very high grades in school, so I guess you know writing it wasn't too difficult for you. But let me just bring into the screen your book real fast, and let me see here. Okay, so let's first we'll share our screen. This fantastic technology. All right.
Nice.
Okay, Dr. Donald. Can you see the screen right now?
Yes, I can see your screen. Hmm.
Okay. So what made you go from, you know, being a doctor, which is very time consuming, helping women with deliveries and things like that,
Yes.
to writing a book?
Yes. So to be honest, I always wanted to be an author as well. Just going back to my childhood a little bit, going back to as early as I could remember elementary school, as soon as I remember me learning how to read, I was obsessed and fascinated with books, children's books, pictures books, trying to become that accelerated reader and, get on to the novels and the chapter books. And I was very competitive with it. I'm not sure if the schools, elementary schools, still have that today, but I remember we had the AR Accelerated Reader Program when I was in elementary school. And depending on book you read, you could get points if you took a test or passed a quiz on a book that you read. So I was very much into reading. I had me an outside library card. I wanted to go every day. I cried when I couldn't go to the library because that was just, I felt like books was my safe place. Now,
Hmm.
with that being said, the first time I wrote like an official, I would say quote unquote book, wasn't a book, but it was kind of like a play. It was like in fifth grade. And I didn't really take it serious. I just wrote something just because I was bored. And I just remember giving it to my friends in class. And they were just like, this is actually really good, Alexis. You should maybe write for real, for real. I was like, oh, really? I was just playing. They was like, no, this is really good. Like, follow up on this. I was like, okay, maybe I should. So it was always something in the back of my head. But to be honest, I always felt like it was kind of like a pipe dream, like something that I wanted to do. But I really didn't think it was possible because I'm not sure if you remember or not, but I remember we used to have those book fairs as well, like in elementary school, like the Scholastic, book fairs, all those publishing, those big name publishing companies. So I felt like for me, it was a little bit out of reach. Like I didn't even know who to ask or talk to about it at that time. Like, oh, I want to write a book, or I think I want to write a children's book. Like I felt like you had to know someone, or you had to have an in, like with the publishing company, and be able to have the money. So I just felt like it was a lot of obstacles and barriers to me actually becoming an author. So I just focused on being a physician, a doctor, which is basically what I did. But as I became older, got into my field, and even though I love medicine and I love what I do as a family medicine physician who delivers babies, I still felt that was a dream that I needed to make a reality. And
Hmm.
fortunately for me and for society in general, we are living in the age of information. And any information that we want to know that was not even available to us, in the 90s and early 2000s, it's just a Google search away, you know,
Hmm.
and you have all of the resources to you. I didn't even know that self publishing was a thing,
Right.
until I started to look into, okay, so what is the process if I actually did want to seriously publish a book? And that's when I found self publishing as an option, for people who did not want to go the traditional route of trying to pitch to a publishing company and having them to believe in your book and doing all of that. I said, I'd rather just put it out on my own time, with my own finances in my own timeline without any barriers to ensure that I can get this out because I knew that I wanted my first book to be about my own true life story of becoming a physician because it was not an easy journey. Anything when you're the first, you don't have that guidance of, someone being able to tell you, this is what you do and this is how you prepare for this, and this is probably what you want to stay away from. I didn't have that more so. Of course, I had mentors that I met along the way that helped to, steer me in the correct direction to, my success today of being able to make my dream a reality, becoming the first physician on both sides of my family. But
Mm-hmm.
when you're the first doing anything, it can kind of be a little daunting at times. And you kind of have to keep that faith. And so that's why I really wanted to make my first book, Mommy, I Want to Be a Doctor, based on my own true life story, because I know it's plenty of children just like me who have dreams just like me, but have never seen this. I can think of all the books I checked out, whether it was my school library or the community library. I don't remember any of the characters looking like the characters that I placed in my book. I believe representation is huge,
Right.
especially when trying to talk about opportunities or career fields that may seem a little bit out of reach or society may want us to think is out of reach, but it's really really not. And so that's what I wanted to give them, like if we can get them as early as we can to think, and to show them that it is possible for them if that is what they want to do. It's easy,
Right.
have them think it's easy, where the
Mm-hmm.
mind goes the body follows. So I feel like these children's books given to young children can help to ensure that their mindset is positive and that they know that they can do whatever they want to do with no limitations. Just because no one else in your family has done it does not mean that you can't. You can be the first and you won't be the last. And
Mm-hmm.
so that is what motivated me to write the children's book and to keep on the journey, to ensuring that it actually is published and released where everyone around the world can buy this book.
Okay, well, let me also add to people who are watching, if you like this type of information, which can empower our community and help us to create the leaders of the future in the health field and in other fields that we cover, please share, hit that like button, and you can also see more about her book on our news blog, the Black News Scoop. We also have our YouTube channel, and I'm going to have links. I'm going to have links to her books where you can obtain her books. And let me just say, I can, people who can see the screen, you can see they have some beautiful illustrations on the book, and it definitely represents us well. But let me ask you really quickly, with the time that we have, left, uh, sort of step outside your book, and what what would you say to persons who want their children to become doctors or consider becoming physicians? How does your book uniquely inspire them or lead them, uh, in contrast to maybe other books out there, you know?
Yes, great question. Yes, I think specifically for parents that are wanting to open their children up to the possibility of becoming a physician, just encourage that curiosity, that imagination, and early exposure to different careers, investing in books such as Mommy, I Want to Be Doctor, but also STEM programs, mentors who can guide them. But most importantly, it's important for the parents themselves to just start at home and to speak life into them. Your belief in their potential can be the fuel that they need to keep going and to also believe in themselves. And that's why I set up Mommy, I Want to Be a Doctor as a conversation
Mm,
between the daughter and the
mm-hmm,
mother, because the daughter
mm-hmm,
is excitedly expressing, her dreams, and the mother is listening, encouraging, and speaking life into her, letting her know, like, yes, you can do that. Just listen to her. These conversations are crucial because
Mhm.
a child's belief system and self-esteem, it starts at home. And I hope this book sparks those conversations and reminds parents to nurture their children and their imaginations, because the children believe anything they can because when the children believe they can be anything, then they start to dream bigger, and then they start to see themselves in that path, and that way they will go. So I believe in the power of positive thinking, positive reinforcement. So that's what I believe that the parents can do if they are really interested in their children, maybe considering STEM field, STEM majors. Is to just start at home, speaking life into them and encouraging them and letting them know, yes, this is possible. Even if no one else in the family has done it, you're smart enough to be the 1st. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And you should be able to see on my screen now how, a big picture of how the cover of the book looks. Can you see that, Dr. Down?
I can see it. Yes.
Okay, because we want our viewers to, know exactly what the book cover looks like.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, and so we're going to have links and everything to where you can pick up the book to our viewers. Now, let me ask you really quickly. I'm going to stop the share a moment. Well, maybe I'll leave it up there. Um, what were Can you tell me maybe really quick, we got maybe 5 minutes,
Mm-hmm.
one or two of your major challenges in becoming a doctor and how you overcame them?
Yes. I would say the first major challenge, I kind of discussed it a little bit
Okay.
earlier, but I'll go into a little bit more depth. Becoming the first physician in the family, I would say, is an obstacle just because you don't have that person or that guidance. I had to figure out a lot of things on my own. Like I said, I was able to get mentors along the way, but it's kind of like I was kind of going off of Google searches, like what's the best school I should look at, or should I be looking at this? I felt like sometimes I was kind of just wandering in the dark, but I was determined to figure out the answer. And I just kept walking. And it is so funny. It's like every time I've needed a mentor, they literally just came out of nowhere. They
Mm-hmm.
were interested, introduced themselves to me like, "Hi, I'm Dr. So and so. You're interested in being doctor? Come in my office. Let's talk about it." I'm like, "Oh, thank you so much." Like, I just
Wow.
feel like it was a lot of divine intervention
Hmm.
in a lot of the challenges that I did have.
You
Um,
think?
oh yeah. And that's a perfect segue to my next challenge. I would say I had. I didn't even know was a thing until I got deep into like college and med school. But if you're not sure if you or your child is not a good test taker, I would suggest you start very, very early to teach them test taking skills. I did not know how important that was until I became a junior in college and I had to take the MCAT, which is the medical college admissions test that you have to get a certain score to even be considered for an interview for medical school. And that was at that point the hardest exam I had ever taken in my life. And I was like, what is this? This is nothing, what I've learned in college. This isn't the biology 101 and the chemistry. It was something totally different. And I was just supposed to be able to do well on it. And that's what I needed to get into medical school. It didn't care, it didn't matter that my GPA was almost a 4.0. I mean, it matters, obviously, but they put a lot of weight on standardized exams. So
Hmm.
I would say more emphasis needs to be placed on standardized exam skills for children, especially Black children in marginalized communities and people of color that usually do not get that in their normal curriculum. Our parents might have to go the extra step in ensuring that they have those skills and that that's not something that hangs them up, because it's literally something where you can know all of the information, but just because you don't have those good test taking skills, you might not do as well, and then it'll limit your options. So
Right.
for me, I did not know that was an issue at all. Like I said, until I got to the MCAT and I actually had to retake it 4 times. I
Hmm.
had to retake that exam 4 times before being accepted into medical school. And that's a long test. That test is like 8, 9 hours.
Right, right.
So, you have to build up stamina, in addition to knowing your content, obviously, but also knowing test taking skills because it's impossible to know everything, right? You can't know everything and they can ask you anything, but you just have to be prepared. So I would say that was my biggest challenge. But I was able to get over that hump with tutoring. That was specific for standardized test taking skills, and it was just a skill that I wish I had had before because it just would have saved me so much time, stress, and anxiety in med school. So if
Wow.
medical school or medicine in general is something that you're really, really interested in, I would start looking in resources and maybe some tutoring programs, classes, schools, courses, whatever around in your surrounding area. Take advantage of that as soon as you can and take and get as much um, practice with that as possible. So when you get to the MCAT, step 1, step 2, and step 3, those are your licensing exams that you have to take in medical school that you also have to pass to even be licensed, because these are things that they don't tell you. It's just something you get there and then you figure out like, oh, I have to do this. Oh, like nobody said anything about that part. And then that be the part that holds you up and you didn't even know that was part of the journey. So
Gotcha.
I think that's very, very important for me to say because that has been my biggest challenge. But again, through me believing in myself, doing what I needed to do, and more divine intervention, I was able to get over that hump. And now I'm in the end of my second year of my family medicine residency. And I have
Hmm.
one more year and then I will be an attending. And it's been a long journey, but it has been worth it because I love that I, in my position, get to stand in the gap and be the person that our people need in the medical field. And so I'm very, very happy it was worth it. And so if anyone out there is watching, they're interested in medicine or becoming an author, know that you can do whatever you want to do. I believe in leaving no talent unturned. I always tell people a physician is one of the many things I am. And one of the many things I will be, when it's all over for me. But in the meantime, I'm just prioritizing.
Hmm.
So I'm like, okay, I was able to get in med school, matching the residency. I'm succeeding. Children's book.
Gotcha.
So got that out the way, and it's actually a series. I'm actually working on the illustration for the next book in the Mommy I Want to Be series. This Mommy I Want to Be a Scientist.
Okay.
Yes,
Well,
coming
well,
soon.
I'll just hold that thought. We're going to work on that for the next video. Okay.
Yes,
But
yes.
this is Kamal Austin, and we got to end here again. Like, share, and thank you, Dr. Donald, for coming, taking your time, and
My
coming on and
pleasure.
sharing with us. All right.
Yes, it's
And
my
God
pleasure.
bless you and your practice, your future practices. Okay.
Thank you so much, Mr. Austin, for all you do. And thank you again for inviting me on your platform to be able to speak today. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you
All
so much.
right. Thank you. Have a
All
nice
right.
weekend.
Thank you too. Bye bye.
Bye.